Carl, I think this is the third time that I interview you, and every single time you kind of manage to slide in the fact that you have a black belt in martial arts. It's like every time you just say, by the way, I can kick your ass.
Well, you should have already been able to tell that.
Carl Sanders really needs no introduction. Widely considered to be one of the best death metal guitarists out there and famous for his technical ability, he is the founder of Nile, an ancient Egypt and Lovecraft-inspired death metal band with whom he has already released 9 studio albums. As if that wasn't enough, he also created his own eponymous solo project. But unlike Nile, this isn't a death metal band. Instead, it's an atmospheric project that mixes Middle Eastern sounds with Carl's own virtuosity and fascination with the dark. It's pretty cinematic, and personally, I love it, and it is the way in which I got to meet, I get to discover, rather, Carl Sanders and Nile. And the one and only Carl Sanders joins me today. So, Carl, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you so much, sir. It's great to be here.
First of all, how have you been, dude? It's been a rough couple of years for people in general, but especially for musicians. It's been really, really rough.
Yeah, man. All of us who play music or are involved in music in any way had to find other ways to make a living for the last 2 years because nobody's touring. Nobody who worked in the concert industry had any work either. So we all had to do other things to survive. I was lucky enough. I got to teach guitar, right? That's how I survived. But it was really great because I was interacting with so many, metal guitar players. It was like a great big learning experience for me. I was happy. I was busy, but I was fucking happy. Man, the amount of guitar playing I've done the last 2 years is, well, there was nothing else to do, so I put it to good use.
Tell me a little bit about your experience as a guitar teacher, because I teach at a university. I'm a lawyer and I teach law, right? And it actually it changed a lot of my own understanding of things, having to not only know how to do something, but also have to convey it to other people so that they understand. So I want to understand, or to know rather, how this experience was for you, and also what level do you teach? Like, if I am terrible at guitar, could you be my teacher, or do you try to aim at higher level guitar players who are just trying to perfect the craft?
Well, let me target the first question first. That conveyance that you were talking about, our own understanding of whatever it is we're teaching is heightened and deepened because the act of trying to explain it to a student in a way that conveys the essence, communicates what it is, you have to codify it in your mind. You have to be able to understand it in such a way that it's frameable in verbal language. So right away in your own mind, like all these like connections are firing, and you understand it from multiple angles. You start seeing it, from a whole lot of perspectives. Each time you have to re-explain it, you understand it more. I noticed out doing martial arts as well, because as soon as you get your black belt, your first one, you're expected to also instruct the younger students. And they say wisdom only starts with the first black belt. And really, when you get that first black belt, you understand that you know almost nothing, which is a mind fuck. You just strap on your first black belt and you think you've achieved something.
Carl, I think this is the third time that I interview you, and every single time you kind of manage to slide in the fact that you have a black belt in martial arts. It's like every time you just say, by the way, I can kick your ass. Like, just add it into the conversation.
But you should have already been able to tell that.
You were doing ninjutsu, right? And MMA.
Senna Jitsu, which is a combat form of jiu-jitsu. It's a little meaner, a little scarier. If I could figure out a way to get paid for working that in, that would be good. But I'm just trying to, how I understand things, to relate it. So I think with teaching guitar or anything else, it's very similar, right? When I'm teaching guitar students and I'm trying to explain something, it helps me understand it in new ways. And I found that by like having this increased number of students, I was like the hub at the center of a big wheel. There's a lot of spokes, right? And I'm seeing like lots of players who each have their own way of doing things and their own understanding of the instrument. But I'm in the center of seeing that. So it's an exponential increase in understanding of what I was already trying to do anyway. So the benefits coming back to the person teaching are as great or greater than the people that are the students. It's crazy how it works.
And what level do your students tend to be? All levels, or do you just aiming at people who are just trying to perfect what they already do?
Yes, advanced to intermediate players, guys who are already good. And some of these guys are, frankly, better guitar players than I am as far as their capacity to do stuff. I mean, we're living in the modern age of YouTube University. Younger players now have access to so much top quality instruction. And you can see your heroes, right? If you want to like see how Steve Vai does something, you just go to your Google search, type Steve Vai, you get 150 videos, or you can watch Steve Vai doing whatever it is Steve Vai was doing, which that was a thing you couldn't even conceive of when I started playing. We didn't even have the internet. So,
well, there is this TV show now, I mean, Netflix show called Stranger Things. And one of the things that happens in the show is that there is a character who plays Master of Puppets. Then one of the things that I read is that somebody calculated that the album had been released just a couple of weeks before they did it.
Thing.
And they were saying, like, this means that pre-internet, a dude found out like how to play this song. And it goes back to what you were saying, that when you started playing, it was a harder, I mean, it's not that guitar playing has become easier, but rather that your ability to actually acquire knowledge has increased dramatically. And that's just fantastic. I mean, as a person who teaches and as a person who likes to learn, it is amazing to see just how much access to learning material there is out there. Your first album with Nile was already back in '98. And already in 2004, you released your first solo record, Saurian Meditation. Take me back to that time. Why did you want to create a solo project, and what were your aims with it? Because it is so different from what you were doing already.
Well, back during those years, we were doing a lot of touring to support the first couple of records, and we were a support act, which meant we were at the bottom of the bill. So, yeah, every day on tour, you're listening not just to your own self making metal and your own songs. That's, was a half hour, 45 minutes of your own show, your own sound check. But you also hear every other single band on the tour all day long. They're doing their sound checks. You're listening to their show. If you're in the building, you're hearing that metal. Death metal is something, it's not quiet. It's not non-invasive. I mean, if you're in the building, you're participating in metal. So as a person who loves metal, and my life is metal, that's great. Metal all day long, every day. It's great. I love it. But after a while, once in a while, I need some motherfucking peace and quiet. I need to be able to hear myself think. So that's what the music on the first Saurian record was. And it wasn't even a record when it started. It was just a way, in between tours, I would go home and play some music that I liked, that wasn't loud. It was quiet. I could chill out. And it turned out on one of the tours we were doing, we were going through Pennsylvania. And at that time, Relapse was located in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. It had a nice big facility there. And we stopped there on our day off. And I said, "Hey, Matt, is it okay if I come in, use the warehouse room to practice and work on some music? I'm working on some stuff. I won't be in anybody's way. I just need some space to play on my day off." So he heard the music I was working on, which was some of the Saurian stuff. And he asked me, "Well, what the fuck is this?" I'm like, "Well, dude, it's just some music I played to chill out and relax. I need some quiet music now and then." And he was like, "You got to share this with people. People will love this. You can't just keep it to yourself." So that's where Saurian meditation came from. Uh, once that got rolling, and it became an actual thing, I was like, "Yeah, okay, all right, I could do two things, no problem."
Tell me a little bit about the Saurian concept.
The genesis of it was uh, during the time that I was writing the stuff that was on the Saurian Meditations, the first Saurian album. Was really fond of taking my kid to the alligator and crocodile farms. We have these here in America, right? Where, there's just a big farm where they have alligators and crocodiles in their natural habitat, and people go and you go look at the crocodiles and alligators. And there was one where you can even feed the crocodiles. It was amazing. They would open the gate next to the lake at the same time every day. So the alligators and crocodiles all knew when to show up at the gate for feeding time. And there would be a guy with a wheelbarrow full of raw steaks, like big steaks, cut huge, right? And for $20, you could stand at the wheelbarrow and toss steaks to the alligators. Only cost $20, right? And they would come up like 2 feet from you. And there's 20 of them, 30 of them, all there, like piled up, with their mouths up and going, "Hey, throw me the steak." But dude, you're an arm's length from them. It's like that will raise every primordial hair on the back of your spine like nothing. You are literally at the mercy of prime predators that would eat you like that. And there's 20 or 30 of them. It's super fun.
So seeing these alligators kind of created the Saurian concept?
Well, I also noticed when we were at the places where the alligators and crocodiles were at rest and just kind of laying there basking in the sun or floating in the water, and you're up close to them and you can see in their eyes, there's a lot of times where it looks like you're staring into the eyes of these creatures that aren't there. I mean, they are there, but it's kind of like their bodies are just there and their souls and minds have gone somewhere else, all right, to another dimension or something. So those eyes, man, they're deep. They're cold reptile eyes. It's such started wondering, okay, what the fuck are these guys thinking about? Are they dreaming with their eyes open? Are they traveling outside their bodies? Is this transcendental meditation of some sort? What the fuck are these guys doing? And that question kind of, just led to, all right, I want to make music for reptiles and crocodiles to fucking meditate to. Yeah, that's what it is. And really, it was also, kind of music that put me to sleep. My kid was, a young kid. He was less than 10 years old at that time. So, getting my kid to fall asleep every night, that's a big fucking, deal. Because while he's up, I can't work on music. I need him to go to sleep so that I can work on music.
I have a hard time imagining that you had your 10-year-old kid falling asleep to Saurian meditations, though. I mean, it's not exactly a lullaby.
He did fall asleep to Saurian meditations. That kid can sleep now to every Nile album that was written since Black Seeds of Vengeance, my studio is right next to where he sleeps. And during the early years when I had a day job, the time to write songs was when everybody went to sleep. I'd stay up late. That's when I have time to do something. It's also a really productive time because the house is quiet. There's no kids yelling. The wife isn't asking you to fix the whatever. Just peace and quiet.
Sorry, an Apocalypse, which is the new album that was released yesterday, tells the story, supposedly, of Eduardo Luciani as a fictional doctor. Tell me a little bit about him.
This album, very much as I was writing the songs, I also kind of saw it like a movie. Like each one of the songs, kind of had this part of the story as I was coming up with it. It started becoming more than song lyrics or more than just liner notes. So I envisioned it as like a book. It's like, yeah, this is a book. And so, I actually started working on it. I did 2 drafts. I'll probably finish it up maybe after this next new Nile record. Who knows?
Really?
Anyway,
you plan to actually publish, or at least to make public a little story about? That's great, dude, because you've always been the person writing the Nile songs. For you, the content has always been extremely important. So you clearly had the chops to do it. So it's great that you're finally putting it on a page. That's great. I'm really happy to hear that.
It's a lot of fun. I noticed right away that writing is actually a whole other skill set. I might be really, really good at writing metal songs. That is not necessarily all transfer over. So there's a whole lot of ways that I'm an inexperienced writer. So there's a whole learning curve of, what, that sucks. I got to throw that out.
But when it comes to writing music, you always get to run it by your band members. How does it work when you write? Do you show it to your wife? Do you show it to friends? How does
my
it work?
wife is a writer who writes just for fun. So she was extremely helpful. In fact, she helped write some of it. So that was pretty cool because she's obviously not afraid to go, hey,
This
you
is
need more
shit.
comma there, or hey, this doesn't make any sense. You have complete gaps of logic in your story. Yeah, she'd be pretty ruthless.
But that's a good thing. I mean, I think often the people who are close to us are not necessarily honest because precisely they care about us. So it's good that you have somebody who can tell you to your face that you suck from time to time.
And she does. She's unafraid, man. Completely unafraid.
Excellent. In the press package that I received from your label, they say that this new album means that, and I quote, the Saurian series finally ceases. Is that true or just PR BS that they add in to kind of create the trilogy image?
Well, I think you said that better than I would be allowed to. uh, uh, I don't know that it's over. And the surest way to get me to do something is to tell me that I can't do it. I have a very rebellious streak. I have problems with authority. If you tell me that I can't do another one, I will do another one way or another. So I don't know.
But speaking of challenging you to make a new one, I mean, the last one was back in 2009. So that is about 13, 14 years. So what caused this big delay? I mean, I imagine that it's just the fact that Nile does take quite a bit of time.
Quite a bit of time and energy. For me, if I'm going to write something, then it's something that I think about. It's what I'm putting my mental energy into, not just when the guitar is physically in my hands, but all day. Even when I'm fucking sleeping, ideas are still coming to me. If I'm mowing the lawn, if I'm walking the dog, if I'm playing tennis, whatever the fuck it is I'm doing, my brain is still on whatever it is I'm writing. So, with Nile during those years, Nile consumes, 20 hours a day of my brain. especially with some of the turmoil we had going on in those years, uh, it wasn't appropriate to take my attention off of Nile when Nile really needed my attention.
What instruments did you play in this album? Because I think most people associate you just with guitars, but you're quite proficient here, I think. I think you played a sitar as well, or so you played quite a few.
The baglama saz, which is a long-necked Turkish lute, it's got 7 strings and 3 courses. There's the glissentar. It's an 11-string fretless instrument made for guitarists to easily have oud-type sounds. There's also the 7-string acoustic. There's a 12-string acoustic. There's a variety of Eastern percussion stuff.
I was recently talking with Michael Romeo from Symphony X, and he also added some oud into his latest album, The War of the Worlds, if I'm not mistaken. And what I asked him is like, how did you start? And he said, dude, if it has strings, I can probably work with it.
Exactly. If it's got strings, you're pressing a note to a fretboard with this hand, and with this hand, you're either using a pick or your fingers, and that's all guitar skills. If you've been playing guitar for 20, 30, 40 years, in my case, 50 years, then a lot of that just walks over to what other stringed instrument it is with only a little bit of adjustment. The baglama saz is different in that it has 17 notes per octave. There's some microtones in there. So there's more notes, which means you get more notes to work with, or more notes to get wrong, however you want to look at it.
Have there been instruments that you tried that you simply couldn't manage? In my case, it would be all of them. But
Right.
I assume that there must be some in your case that was more challenging.
You know, the fretless, that's got a lot of challenges because it doesn't have frets. So your intonation starts to really, really matter. There's a whole, new set of discipline that you've got to have with your technique, or else all the notes sound awful. One of the tracks on this new record, Divergence, the long-awaited third primordial ascension, it's the fretless, but played really, really slow. And that's actually more hard than playing it fast, because when you're going fast, there's not as much space in between the notes. There's not as much time for your ear to hear, from a listening standpoint, the pitch of the note goes by really quick. But when they're slow notes, there's a lot of time and space to hear the note be wrong. So you better play it right. It's a supremely difficult thing to play that slow on a fretless instrument. So that was a fucking challenge. Jesus Christ. And it's got to be in tune because the other instruments have accurate pitches and they're an immediate reference for something being wrong. Like, ever notice when people teach voice, they use a piano? Because the piano is pure, if it's in tune, of course. You hit the note, and the note will come out as the note, and you can be very assured that that note that you hit on the piano is that note. That's why they use it when they teach voice, because it's an absolute reference. In the same way, if you've got some keyboard instruments going in the background while you're playing fretless guitar, well, there's an immediate reference for whoever's listening to hear whether your pitch is accurate or not. So it's ups the challenge. Like, if you notice when you listen to a lot of oud records, you're basically hearing the oud with a bunch of nice reverb and very little else, maybe a hand drum or something. So the little tiny pitch fluctuations don't matter as much. But as soon as you stick a keyboard instrument in there, ooh, you better be on. You better be on pitch.
And finally, since I know that we're running out of time, regrettably, I can't interview you without asking about Nile. Your last album was in 2019, Vile Nilotic Rites. When's that follow-up coming up?
Well, we're working on it now. We're still in the writing phase, but we're about done. I've got 11 songs on my warboard. You probably can't see it, but it's on the other side of that door. A big warboard, right? And there's 11 songs on it right now. I think we're going to do 13. We're going to start recording drums in October in Greece at George's place. Really looking forward to that. I haven't been to Greece in years, so it's going to be fun.
Carl, thank you so much for all of your time. I really appreciate it. It's always a pleasure talking to you. You're a really fun dude, and you're an incredibly talented musician, so it's always a privilege to get the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you so much for your time, dude.
Thank you, man. It's been a lot of fun.